Average score?
78.
Ooh.
Mine was
So,
77.
If you would like to retake your test, you can come in at some point and retake that. Remember, I don't have a guided study hall, but if you want to come in during guided study hall, then you would have to get a class. Yeah.
We have guided study hall this week, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh.
we only have
Wednesday
testing
and
The
tomorrow.
testing doesn't affect that, or? Okay.
Because the testing is just for sophomores.
Okay.
Yeah, because last week was sophomore and junior.
They're just gonna play out the class.
Yeah, the first.
My name
Yeah.
is in on group 1.
So you'll miss, it's from 9 to 10:50. If you're a sophomore, if you're a junior, don't worry about it. But anyways, so
Smart.
on Wednesday or Thursday, if you do want to come in to retake during guided study hall, just let me know and I can give a pass to your teacher, but I can't sign you up for my because I don't actually have guided study hall, okay?
Do you remember what this was?
All the rest of your grades are also updated, so if you are not content with your grade because you see that you didn't turn something in and you have a 0, I would suggest that you find a time to hand that in to me, okay, or talk to me about something that you're missing, because there are a few of you who are missing a couple of assignments that went in as 0. Okay. But we are going to start Unit 3 today. Hello? 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 Hi. Still not there. Well, if she comes in, I don't know.
Reese ain't coming.
Okay. I don't know where that's. But anyway, so that's fine. But anyway, so we're gonna start with Unit 3 today. So Unit 3 as a whole, because Unit 2 we talked about Civil War. Okay, Unit 3 as a whole is about basically the time period following the Civil War. And then we talk about how that will influence our views on government. Okay, so we're talking about as a whole if you want to have a strong government with like strong leaders, or if you want the people to do more of the work. Okay, and we talked a little bit about that during the last unit because we were talking about whether or not you want the people to rule, or if you want the states to rule, or the government, okay? So today, to start, we are going to be talking about social Darwinism, and it's the idea of survival of the fittest. Okay, so ideally after today, if you don't already know what survival of the fittest is, hopefully you'll have a better understanding of what social Darwinism is and how people may have evolved over time and how we kind of have this mindset that like the strong are the people who survive and the weak are the ones who are weeded out. Okay. So to start, I am going to read a couple of statements. Okay. Depending on the statement, you're going to stand up and you're going to move to a side of the room where you either agree, which is over there, so if everybody understands that agree is over to your left, okay, and then disagree, which is on your right, okay? So whatever statement I read, you're going to get up and move accordingly, okay? Try to pick a side, because I know some of you will say like, I don't know, or I don't have an opinion. Try to pick a side. Okay? Force yourself to think about one way or the other. Maybe it'll change your point of view. But when we get to the last one, I'm going to show you a video clip about what the last statement is, and then I'll have you decide after the video clip. Okay?
Alright.
So, first one. Okay, remember this is agree. this is disagree. Okay, so first one is rich people are rich because they are smarter with money.
Wait, where is disagree?
This one's disagree, this one's agree. So rich people are rich because they are smarter
Go.
with money.
That's this way.
It's called inheritance. No, I got it.
I just making sure. What side are you on? Let's put it over farther. They're not gonna like. So, Quinn seems to be the only one who agrees, I guess. Why?
I don't know, they're smart with their money, and if they have a lot of money, they're smart with it. They don't spend it on dumb things.
No.
So, if you use your money wisely, then you have a better chance to like build it up.
Yeah.
Speak up. What did you say?
I think there's a lot of dumb luck in our world.
How so?
Well, like, I mean, like,
It's inheritance.
it can be inheritance, but like, what about like celebrities? Like, take Kim Kardashian, for example. How did she become popular? And how is she continuing to be popular? And is she smart with her money?
No one, no rich
So,
person
maybe
is
not.
I mean,
smart with their money.
it can be both.
They waste their money.
So, if you're talking about inheritance,
Everybody just wastes their money.
but if you're talking about inheritance, how did their parents get that money? So were they smart with their money?
Are all rich.
Alright, fair enough. Alright, so the next one, same sides apply, okay, so agree, disagree, okay? So the government should tax the rich more than the poor to help make society more equal. Agree, disagree? The government should tax the rich more than the poor to make society more equal.
Wait, is this disagree? Yeah.
That's disagree, yeah.
What if there's some factors that you don't charge, you know, like.
Just stop talking.
What do you mean?
Most poor people can afford taxes.
Okay, so,
Let's try to.
Most poor people can afford
quiet, hey, Nolan. So, as far as taxes go, taxes work based on the amount of income that you generate. Okay? So, in theory, you would have more money deducted from your paycheck if you make more money. Okay? So, like, how many of you have a job right now? Okay. So, when you get a job, and if you're paid, so I guess like babysitting is a little bit different because you're usually paid in cash. But if you have a job where you are hired and they have like tax forms for you to fill out, then you'll have a W-2 statement. Okay, and that'll show you for filling out taxes how much the government took out of your paycheck toward taxes. Okay, and then when you file your taxes, you would either get like a tax return to say they charged you too much or took too much money out from your bill, or sometimes you have to pay. Okay, because the government didn't take out enough money in your taxes. Okay, so then you'd have to pay in to the government. So some people pay in, and some people are really happy during tax season because then they get a nice, you know, bonus basically. Okay, but when you say something like the poor can't afford taxes, it doesn't necessarily work like that because you don't always have to pay in. Okay? It depends on the job you have and how much money they're taking out of your paycheck. So it's not necessarily about them not being able to afford the taxes. Okay? But people argue that those who are like billionaires, you know, like top 1% of society, should get taxed more because they have so much more money. Yeah. Okay? So, this side, you are standing Okay? Why? Why do you agree?
Just to have more money to give out to other people. Just pay for those.
Okay.
There's more involved in federal used for public services.
Okay, so tax money. Alright, the government uses taxes to fund some of those things, so if the top wealthy people in society, have to pay more money with their taxes, then maybe that tax money is being used for better things. Maybe. Don't know if that's always true. Okay, but all of you over here disagree. Why?
It's not like anyone specific about taking care of the rest of society. I mean, why should one person be contributing more than the next just because they have to?
But what if you're talking about like the Kim Kardashians of the world who make an insane amount of money and don't
That's
always
because her mom was
Society's
smart.
choice, though. I mean,
Her mom was
They wouldn't
smart,
be-
got her out there.
they wouldn't be rich and popular without the rest of society worshiping them as God. So,
Fair.
Not necessarily make it, I think people can get tricked. That's very
True.
easy to do, just because
True.
they're popular doesn't mean it's justified.
True, but we're just talking about taxes. Okay. Next one. The next one, this one shifts, okay? So, you want to throw Anna's Mountain Dew bottle? Sorry, Anna, I'm using it really quick. So, the next one, the government should require labels on all food products. Okay? So when you buy something, should the government require there be a label on it saying what is in it and the nutritional value? Agree or disagree?
Bro, I
Agree? Disagree.
No,
This one's agree. Disagree.
why are you recording her?
Cause she told me to.
You look like you're in the middle. Can't be in the middle. Okay, so the type of food might matter to some of you. Okay, so say it's this Mountain Dew bottle. Some people like to know what's inside of it because, well, it contains 46 grams of sugar per serving, and there are 3 servings in this bottle. Okay, that's a lot of sugar. Okay, but it also will tell you like the ingredients. So it says like high fructose corn syrup. Okay, if some people say we're allergic to high fructose corn syrup, okay, having this label could save their lives. Yes. Okay, but what about food products that you would buy at like a farmer's market, where they're usually put in packages by everyday people? Okay, so say it's like, have you guys ever been to the farmer's market here in Winona?
Yeah.
And there's like this
Yep.
cute little, there's Amish lady who sells these nice jams. Okay, so if you have this jam from this lady, should she be required to put a label on it saying what's in it?
Nana.
Yes.
She can do what she wants.
Would become something you don't know? So, all of you over here agree that you should have labels on your food products, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Stop. You disagree, right? You 3 disagree, right?
I got that on video.
Why?
Put labels on your products.
Okay, but what if that label saves somebody's life for allergy
They
purposes?
didn't have to get that.
Oh my God, they wouldn't know what's in it.
Okay, but no, that's a good point. So if you are allergic to something, say something very common, like peanuts, okay? Peanuts are used in a lot of products and like the oils, okay, that are used in a lot of those products. So you kind of, once you have that allergy, you kind of know maybe this isn't the type of product I should be buying,
What does it mean today?
okay?
Okay, but you can put different things in different foods, like you can drink it up, so how would you know?
Alright, next one. So, still agree, disagree, okay? The government should get to decide who gets to live and who gets to die.
What? Absolutely not.
The government should get to decide who gets to live and who gets to die. I'll tell you where I'm going with it after you. So,
Wait, what? Is this a
You just want to fight.
this is agree.
Just gonna talk about the draft.
Yeah, you agree with that? Yeah.
The government should get to agree who lives and who dies. Okay, so, my example. Okay? There are laws in some states about assisted suicide.
Oh.
Okay, so there are some states like California where if you have a terminal illness, you can choose to have the doctor administer medication that would end your life, rather than going through the rest of your life with this terminal illness getting worse. Okay, so that can be a law. It's not a law in every state.
That'd be my choice.
Okay, but there are also things like vaccines, okay, and that's a big one today, vaccines, because some people argue that the government should mandate vaccinations for children, okay, and if you wanted to keep extending this, that's basically like saying the government is saying whether or not you have to vaccinate your children, because if you don't vaccinate your children, they're at a greater risk for death. Yes. Okay? And the illnesses
Infecting the rest of society.
and infecting the rest of society. Okay? So, do you still agree, sitting over here, or are you still confuzzled at my statement?
I agree.
Okay? So, everybody else usually disagrees with this statement because it's so bold, just saying who gets to live and who gets to die. Okay? But it's more complicated than that. Yeah. Okay? Last one. Okay? So everybody can go back to their seats because I have a short video clip to play first. Yeah, the last one goes with the video. Ooh, sorry. Sorry, Anna, I used your Mountain Dew. Hope you don't mind.
I was thinking like 6-0. Power joke. Trying.
So, as a precursor for the video, it is old. Okay? And by old, I mean like 1990s, which I guess isn't all that old, but for you, it's a long time ago. Because most of you were not born in the 90s.
I wasn't even in the womb.
So, the video, okay, it's not very long, but I'm going to ask you the question after playing it, okay, because some of your opinions might change based on what you see.
In Albuquerque, New Mexico, an elderly woman was severely burned when she spilled a cup of McDonald's coffee in her lap.
An 81-year-old woman has been awarded $2.9 million after she sued McDonald's, claiming their coffee was too hot.
Stella Liebeck spilled just 8 ounces of coffee, but she attracted a flood of attention. The jury's awards set off a media frenzy and became a rallying cry for those who believed our legal system had run amok.
I think it's absurd.
But as her story cycled through newspaper headlines, talk show storylines, and late-night punchlines, one thing was lost: the facts.
This story is the most widely misunderstood story in America. The public perception of it is Stella Liebeck won a lottery. She she bought the coffee, she spilled it on herself and got like she's a millionaire.
Who called you?
But of course, the facts are much more complicated than that.
Stella Liebeck was a 79-year-old widow sitting in the passenger seat of a parked car when she was burned on February 27, 1992. She had recently quit her job as a department store clerk and moved to Albuquerque to be near her daughter.
The day that the burns happened, my mother and my nephew went through the drive-through at McDonald's and got breakfast and coffee, and they pulled into the parking lot. And in the Ford Probe, there's slanted surfaces everywhere. There's no place to put the coffee. She put it between her knees and lifted the lid off. And in the process of doing that, spilled the coffee, and all of the hot liquid went into the sweatsuit that she was wearing and pooled in the seat.
All I remember is trying to get out of the car. I screamed, not realizing I was burned that bad. I knew I was in terrible pain.
The severity of the burns caused Stella Liebeck to go into shock, and her grandson immediately took her to the emergency room.
She was burned over 16% of her body. 6% of the burns were third degree. She was in the hospital for a week.
Medical bills were $10,000, so Stella reached out to McDonald's and asked to be reimbursed.
We couldn't believe that this could happen over spilling the coffee. So we wrote a letter to McDonald's asking them to check the temperature of the coffee and to give recompense for the medical bills. And the response from McDonald's was an offer of $800.
Stella Liebeck had never sued anyone before Albuquerque attorney Ken Wagner took her case. Before they went to trial, they tried twice to settle out of court, but McDonald's refused.
We bought a product, it was used as intended, it was unreasonably hot and therefore unreasonably dangerous, and those were the essential facts.
I was not in it for the money. I was in it because I wanted them to bring the temperature down so that other people would not go through the same thing I did.
McDonald's policy was to serve coffee between 180 and 190 degrees. That's about 30 degrees warmer than most home coffee brewing machines.
Holy.
A burn expert testified that liquid at 180 degrees could cause third-degree burns within 15 seconds. Lawyers produced documents that showed that between 1983 and 1992, nearly 700 people claimed that they had been burned by hot coffee at McDonald's.
McDonald's was on big time notice that they had a product that was dangerous and it was burning people. We argued that to the jury, that they were callous and indifferent in simply not turning down the temperature.
An expert for McDonald's testified that burns are exceedingly rare, one for every 24 million cups of coffee served.
They just said it's statistically insignificant. And we're not going to change what we do.
People interact with hot beverages all the time in a fast food restaurant, and that doesn't necessarily mean that the restaurant is doing something wrong.
Attorney Tracy Jenks tried the case for McDonald's and argued that Mrs. Liebeck bore personal responsibility because she spilled the coffee on herself, and that McDonald's coffee wasn't any hotter than the coffee at other fast food restaurants. She said the reason the coffee was so hot was because that's what customers wanted.
McDonald's had a really, really strong reason for why they brewed their coffee at the temperature they did. It was an industrial standard based on the maximum extraction of the flavor and the maximum holding temperature.
But the jury saw how liquid at that temperature can scald when they were shown graphic photos of Mrs. Liebeck's burned groin.
The photos depicted where they had to graft the skin from the side of her legs to close the third-degree burn, and I think if people would have seen the severity of the burns, they would have realized it was not a laughing matter.
After 7
Okay, so, I think you got the gist of it. Although early 90s, still a little relevant, okay? Because a lot of you guys already have minor coffee addictions, but coffee. Okay, this lady spilled on herself and then sued McDonald's, saying that the coffee was too hot. Okay, so remove for this one, okay, is whether or not people should be able to sue companies that knowingly hurt citizens.
Yes.
Okay, so, hold on. So, you saw the pictures, and they did say how hot the coffee was at McDonald's compared to what a normal coffee maker would make. Okay, so should people be able to sue companies that knowingly hurt citizens? Yeah?
They didn't say on the cup it's hot.
Yes. So, that's the thing,
You could have.
is whether or not there is advertising that warns you about the product. So, that coffee said, like, caution, hot, okay? And most people would know that your coffee's hot, but they're arguing it is hotter than what it should have been. So, you can't drink it when it's that hot. So you usually wait, okay, let it cool down a bit. But the lady was driving, spilled on herself. Okay, so should she be able to sue McDonald's? Why not?
Because it went to the store.
Okay, so
I thought she was on the passenger seat.
oh yeah, passenger. So she's still in the car. Okay, still in the car, parked car, but spilled on herself. Okay, she was not on McDonald's property anymore. Well, the parking lot, but not inside the building. Okay, so she's in the parking lot. Is it still McDonald's fault at that point? Why? Okay.
It wasn't that she didn't know it was warm. That was a complete accident. She didn't.
Right. So she's not gonna purposely spill
There was a
it.
mishandling that could have been avoided if the coffee wasn't as hot.
So, do you
Good luck.
think?
You'll win.
So if the coffee was at like the 20 degrees lower or whatever, and she had spilled, okay, say it still burned her, but it's not 3rd-degree burns. Say maybe it's only 2nd-degree burns. Should she still be able to sue, even though the coffee temperature is within the regulations? Because she's saying that they knowingly caused harm because they're producing a warm product. So, if that happened at home, say you spill your own coffee on you, should you call that coffee maker's, company and sue them?
No, but that's because that coffee is operated by herself. She did not operate the coffee machine. That's McDonald's guy.
She can't change the temperature of the coffee either. I mean, she can't say, okay, I don't want it to come this hot, so I'm gonna make it less.
Okay.
She did not.
Yeah, but not like McDonald's.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
She also left the lid out.
Have to drink it or less.
Okay, so drink at your own risk. Okay, lesson for all of you: if you get coffee, drink at your own risk. Okay, but this happened in the 90s, so we are much more regulated in the products that we can give people. And I'm sure McDonald's had to make a lot of changes because the lady did end up winning. Right?
They
She won.
lowered the temperature.
Well, they lowered the temperature, yes, but this lady ended up getting a lot of money out of this.
She got 1 day's worth of coffee sales. That's actually what they were working for. They were
Right.
getting 1 day's
But
worth.
in the first trial, before they made the decision, they were going to give her like millions of dollars. Yeah. Just in the very beginning. That's not what they ended up doing. Okay. So, to relate this to this unit, okay, the first part of the unit that we're talking about is the idea of social Darwinism. Okay, and some of you maybe have heard about social Darwinism from like biology. Okay, because we talk about survival of the fittest when we talk about evolution. So in like biology, they'll talk about how some species are able to survive because they adapt to their surroundings. Okay, we're talking about people. Okay, The survival of the fittest is going to apply to you all, okay? We're talking about whether or not society thinks that those who are strong survive over those who are weak, okay? Because the idea of survival of the fittest is that those who are strong, and it doesn't have to be physically strong, okay? You don't need to hit the weight room every day and call yourself strong. That doesn't necessarily mean you are the strongest, okay? It's talking about whether or not you are able to adapt to your surroundings and able to adapt to your environment. So say you are new here, new to the district, okay? Well, you're new. So, still new to the district. You too, new to the district. So, as people who are new to the district, okay, when we talk about being able to adapt, it's whether or not you are able to eventually, make friends, do well in your classes, show up every day on time. Stop getting lost in the hallways, okay? So, being strong doesn't have to be physically, muscular. Okay, it's talking about whether or not you're able to adapt to your environment, okay? And some people don't agree with the idea of survival of the fittest. Some people disagree because they don't think it's all about who can adapt and who can do the best, okay? So, for your homework, okay, I'd like you all to open up your Chromebooks to Schoology. There should be a new folder for you that says Unit 3, and you'll have to click on that. So, in the Unit 3 folder, there should be another folder that says Social Darwinism. Okay? And in the Social Darwinism folder, there is an assignment. When you click on the assignment, it will give you a link to a PDF. Okay? The PDF has the reading, and then there are 7, I think, questions that you need to respond to based on the reading. But a couple of the questions are your opinions. Okay, so it is going to ask you what your opinion is on the idea of survival of the fittest. Okay, so some of them you need to use the reading to answer. Some of them are your own opinion. Okay, you have a little over 10 minutes left of class. Okay? Take a look at the reading. Start answering the questions. If you have questions, ask before you leave. Okay? Because question number 7 uses a new vocab word that you probably haven't heard of before. Okay? It says something about a laissez-faire type of government. Okay? And we haven't talked about laissez-faire yet. Okay, so if you do the reading and get to that question and don't understand, ask before you leave the room, okay? Okay. No, that's what we did. That was the thing below it. So go back. Yeah, go back. So you have to open the reading, and then the reading was on the link that's on the and then but on the other part, then it has a document.
Can I end it?